I did it. I finally did it. I deleted my Adobe Creative Cloud suite. I started using Adobe Premiere in 2010 and used it exclusively all the way until 2017. So that was 7 years that I spent editing on Premiere. I felt like I knew it like inside and out. I tried Final Cut in 2017 just because I heard that it might be a little bit faster and more user-friendly, a little more intuitive. I decided just to give it a try, and I haven't turned back since. In this video, I'll go over kind of why I made the switch, and maybe it could help you if you're a little bit frustrated with Adobe Premiere, or maybe you're a beginner and want to start learning an editing software. So I'll talk a little bit about that, and hopefully it can help you make some decisions. After I switched to Final Cut in 2017, I still kept the Adobe Creative Suite on my computer just in case. I thought I would be working on some collaborative projects where I would need Premiere, but it never really happened. And so finally, after 3 years, I deleted the Adobe Creative Suite. And that was a lot of money wasted on that because I spent 3 years. The only program I actually really use is Adobe Lightroom. So I canceled my Adobe Creative Cloud Suite. Now I'm just paying $10 a month for Lightroom. I'll talk a little bit why I never switched back to Premiere after going to Final Cut. One of the main reasons is speed. People were saying it was fast, but I didn't realize how fast it would actually be. The editing experience in Final Cut is just a lot smoother. You can scrub through footage a lot faster. There's shortcuts for dropping in footage at the end, at the beginning, in the middle, on top of the sequence. You can use your arrow keys to go around the footage so you don't have to touch your mouse as much. So here's a list of things that got really annoying for me in Premiere. If you're using the thumbnail viewer in Premiere, the thumbnails of all the clips take so long to load. In Final Cut, it's almost instant. The organization in Premiere in the project window is a little bit clunky, which means what? It just feels a little disorganized because you double click it, it opens in another window. And then you can also do drop down things. I don't know. To me, it just feels a little clunky. Scrubbing through footage is so slow. It just doesn't play smoothly. Like when you scrub through clips really quickly, it just doesn't work that well. In Premiere, you can't use arrow keys to play the next clip. What I mean by that is you double click one clip, right? Then it shows in the source window and you put your in and out points, drop it in a timeline. You can't use the arrow key to go to the next clip. You have to take your mouse and double click the next clip to open it in your source window. You can't just use arrow keys to go to the next clip. And that is a huge time waster for me. In the timeline, in order to stabilize clips that are different frame rates in your timeline, you have to nest them. And also if you want to play with like speed of clips that are different and then you put stabilization, you have to nest the clips in your sequence. And that's just so annoying and it feels really disorganized to do that. Warp stabilizer in Premiere is so slow. It takes so long to load. You kind of lose your train of thought when you're waiting for stabilization to finish. Exporting is so slow on Premiere. It's very slow, so slow. It's slow. I've encountered a lot of errors in Premiere, a lot of export errors, a lot of crashes. So far in Final Cut, I have never ever once had an export error in the past 3 years. Not one single export error. I have had it crash from time to time, but I would say it probably crashes once a month or once every 2 months. Like it rarely ever will crash. Premiere, it was almost every time I used Premiere every day, it would crash at least. And there would just be times where I would get export errors sometimes, or like you see something in the footage after you exported it. I've never had that problem with Final Cut. On my laptop when I'm using Premiere, my fans are on full blast the whole entire time. But when I'm editing in Final Cut, the fans are off. It's just like quiet computer. Editing is super smooth and it's just a more fun experience for me. And then the last thing is the Adobe Suite is subscription based. So you're paying monthly for the programs and you never really own it. You have to just keep on paying it, and over time that really adds up. Compared to other programs like Final Cut, you just pay a one-time payment and you get updates for life. You have the program for life, basically. Same with DaVinci. Actually, DaVinci is free. DaVinci Resolve is free. You can buy a version that has a little extra features, but the free version of DaVinci Resolve is actually pretty much full. Like, I would say you're not losing anything if you use the free version of DaVinci Resolve. Adobe. It feels like Adobe Premiere really hasn't been improving over the past 10 years. I feel like since 2010, it's pretty much been the same. Final Cut 10 and DaVinci Resolve just feel a lot more fresh. They feel more intuitive, and what you think in your mind translates onto the editing software a lot easier than it does with Premiere. What's in my head translates to the video editing like a lot more fun, a lot seamlessly, because I don't run into errors and things go really quickly, and so I don't have to spend time waiting for stabilization or rendering or anything. It's just very smooth experience compared to Adobe Premiere. But it also very much depends on what you're comfortable with and you're willing to deal with the crashes and troubleshooting, then it might not be a problem for you. But if you are using Adobe Premiere and you're getting a little tired of the crashes and errors and stuff, and you do want to try something out, I would highly recommend trying DaVinci Resolve, because you can use it both on Windows and Mac. Also, you can check out Final Cut Pro if you're using Mac, and it has a free trial of 30 days. But I feel like a lot of people are going to be switching to DaVinci Resolve in the coming years because it's a very professional program. It has all the features you need. It's free. If I were an editor just starting out, I would definitely try DaVinci Resolve. Let me know if you have any questions about this. If you have any questions about video editing software, I'd be happy to kind of look into it, and just let me know if this video helps you at all. If you're feeling stuck and you're using Premiere, I highly recommend trying a different program. It doesn't mean that you're below the rest if you're not using Adobe Premiere. I hope you enjoyed this video. That's gonna be it for today. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.